Hi, I am going to be talking about anger this evening. That was a topic that I was kind of thinking about speaking on just because that's something that another thing that I'm pretty familiar with, something I've dealt with my entire life. I mean, it's something I think really everybody deals with throughout their entire life. And so I thought that it would be not a nice topic, but a good one to speak on. Um, and I'm going to place a mark because change of pace. I think I'm gonna just go in and look for some what are they called? Great mullet. The plants to make some more bandages. So really don't need that much. I think I can turn the volume down a little bit. Just because it's a bit loud. Anyways, as far as anger goes, for me, anger has been tough, to say the least. I have struggled with anger a lot throughout my entire life. It's kind of whenever I run into difficult situations, whenever I am, kind of beaten down by life or other people, whenever I get into arguments or whenever I experience embarrassment, disappointment, stuff like this, I just I default to anger, and I think that's in large part due to kind of the environment I grew up in. I grew up around a lot of adults. I'm an only child, so sometimes they would argue, and having I think I think having a lot of adults around like that, um, just kind of because I've lived in a multi-family household my whole life, um, so I've lived with like maybe 6 adults in my house, and then there's just me. And where am I? Okay, I need to get to. Oh man, I spawned all the way. Oh wait, the round's like almost over, anyways. Okay, maybe I just check the testing annex and then dig out. Um, but I saw adults can be stubborn and sometimes stuck in their ways, and so I would kind of see a lot of reactions to different situations. Um, just be anger, you know. I saw that as kind of one of the defaults. I think more so than sadness, just because it's oh my goodness. Just because I think sadness is a more vulnerable kind of emotion. It's tougher to really to show, you know. It can be seen as embarrassing or weak. And so yeah, I've defaulted to anger a lot for I think the majority of my life. And it's something that I realized not too late. Okay, someone's already been here. There should be some Great Mullen in the middle. Oh, that is I don't have a grenade for that. Yeah, I'm not proud of it, for sure. It's not something that I am easily just like, oh yeah, like, this is how I've dealt with stuff. But, um, but it's something that I've had to work on for a long time, and it's affected a lot of my relationships, where I would really get into it with friends and with girlfriends for like no reason, really, or at least no good reason. I've really sabotaged quite a few of friendships over really stupid little things. And, I can admit that. Um, so learning how to deal with anger in a healthy way, you know, was something that took a lot of time for me, because once I really grasped, like, this is damaging. You know, the way that I'm dealing with disappointment, the way I'm dealing with sadness, the way that I'm dealing with all these things by just going straight to anger, it isn't healthy. And at first I thought, okay, well, the default then should just be to bottle everything. You know, that worked about as well as you can imagine. You know, bottling just leads to more bottling, and then eventually leads to an explosion of emotions. Do I need fabric? An explosion of emotions, and that is never a good thing. Unless the explosion is positive emotions, then of course. But for me it wasn't. And I was still lashing out at friends, I was still lashing out at family, and I was still causing problems where there wasn't any. Now, I never like fought anybody, you know, I never like went out of my way to really be destructive to other people, but it wasn't good, you know. I was petty. I was problematic, to say the least. And so, learning how to deal with that, I'm not sure where it started. I'm not sure where I really started to grasp how to deal with anger. But it kind of just dawned on me at some point that anger itself isn't bad. You know? Like, it's not the anger. It is the misuse of it. It's anger that isn't controlled. Just like any emotion, you know? Like love or feelings of attraction that aren't controlled can just easily turn to lust, and sadness that isn't controlled and dealt with can turn to depression. So anger in and of itself isn't bad. It's just anger that isn't... Do I have lure grenades? No. That isn't controlled. And so realizing that, and that was a more Bro, dude, I swear they go to you even when... Like, I like you just gotta fight these, don't I? Oh boy. Yeah, it's anger that's uncontrolled. And so... Oh, that's a Rocketeer? Dude, come on. Uh-oh. I think there's another person here. Not great. I think those are trigger nades. Okay, I think I have to fight somebody. Yeah, for a lot of my life, I was just like, okay, no anger. None at all. And, once I learned how, like, different strategies about how to deal with that anger, it was honestly super peaceful, you know? I was able to see things from an entirely new... Oh, there you are. An entirely new perspective, really. Why? Okay. Oh, I think he's just... Oh, there you are. Yeah. I'm pretty terrible at multitasking, but maybe this will, you know, this channel will help me work on that. Nope. Hey buddy, there's a guy up there that's like, there's a guy on the roof. There's a guy on the roof that's just like shooting. Get in here, get in here. There's just some guy up there just like camping. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but once I started really developing strategies, like journaling, which I wasn't consistent at, which is, you know, why I'm doing this now. Or taking prayer walks, taking time with friends to talk to them and open up. And those, like, community was probably the biggest thing for me. Community was definitely the biggest thing. And having people there around me who were open to helping me out was huge, you know? Because a lot of the time, I think what stems really from anger, you know, below the embarrassment, below the fear, below the disappointment, is powerlessness. You know, like I can't do something. And so anger is something that people, or at least I, would go to, because I was like, you know, really pissed that I just couldn't do anything about my situation. And another thing that kind of sucked was feeling guilty for being angry at people, you know? Because once the anger subsides, you know, even if you don't say anything to their face, you know, like someone pisses you off and then like, oh, you know, screw them, you know, I hate them, or I hope something bad happens to them. Then afterwards, you really think about it and you're like, damn, that was, you know, not cool. I wish I didn't say those things. I wish I didn't think those things. And then it's like the guilt that comes afterwards. So how do I deal with that? You know? And I struggled with that for a long time. And it was something I wasn't willing to give up for a while. I know it sounds kind of weird, like, oh, you're not willing to give up guilt. Yeah, but not feeling guilty about something that you feel like you should be guilty about is low-key just incredibly hard to get over. Like, if you really feel like you should feel bad about something, even if someone tells you, like, oh, don't feel bad, you know, or like, it's not your fault, like, you're just inclined to feel like a piece of crap, you know? And it sucks because it kind of follows up being honest, you know? Because if you are honest with people, if you go to somebody and you're like, yeah, I got mad and I did this, or I said that, or I thought this, you know, but you don't have to say every little thought that comes into your mind, you know what I mean? But if you're honest with somebody, if you're honest with yourself, shoot, man, then you gotta admit, yeah, you know, I thought something nasty, or I said something nasty to this person, or about this person, and, you know, that for me was something that really was hard to get over, you know. But I found that over time, as I was honest about it, and then as I kind of, you know, really prayed about it, and I asked God like, to quell my anger, to help me deal with that, and as I practiced strategies to help me kind of dissipate the anger when it comes up, to deal with it, to think about things rationally, and stuff like that. As I did more of that, like the anger in the moments that I felt, like I noticed started minimizing. And not minimizing in the way where it's like making less of my feelings, but just having my feelings there, being able to acknowledge them, being able to be like, yeah, you know what, like, it's okay that I feel this way. But you know, I'm not gonna have an outburst. I'm not gonna say this. I'm not gonna dwell on these thoughts. Yeah, it's another important thing. It's okay to have those, like, you know, angry thoughts to a certain extent. You know, you don't want to be thinking about, oh, like, yeah, I hope this person like gets harmed or something like that. You know, but it's okay to think angry. It's just, you know, you don't want to dwell on those thoughts. You don't want to stay there. It's okay to be there, but you just don't want to stay there. And so through those kind of avenues, through those realizations, I've come to be a less, harmfully angry person. I'm still sometimes an angry person, but I've learned that that's alright. And it's alright if you're angry too. Just don't lash out in your anger. And if you do, it's alright. We can work on it. And I think that's about all I'll really have to say on that tonight. But yeah, I'm really glad and I'm really proud of how far I've come when it comes to anger. So yeah, I'll be back.